August 12th at 9:42 a.m. Breakfast in Ahmed, Bali. And we're going to this place called the Jolly Best View Cafe. Looks like it has the best view. And we're gonna have breakfast. I'm starving. And I'm going to do a vlog, a drive cast, because it's going to be a long drive back to Ubud, but very pretty. Andrew's made a friend, a tiny little kitty. Aww. Very cute. Alright, breakfast time. So here in Bali, actually, there isn't a huge struggle to be alone with your thoughts. You're basically having constant distractions. You're going scuba diving, you're having fun, there's not a lot of space usually. Like, there's just always people everywhere. The places where we live, we're always in like guest house. We're actually about to move, but until now, and most people that we know are in the same boat as us, where they live in these guest houses where you're living with a family, you're inside, you have like one room, you're basically like a studio kind of situation. The kitchen is shared with other people, the complex is shared with other people. You're always surrounded by people coming in and out. If you struggle to be alone with your thoughts, those are welcome distractions. You're always surrounded by people. You're never lonely. And it's nice, because being lonely isn't always as fun. But sometimes being lonely is a good thing. Spending time alone, spending time with your thoughts, without distractions, without the internet, without your phone. In the last video, I talked about being underwater as a kind of meditation, where you can, because you're kind of forced to not be distracted by your phone, by other people, by talking, by anything. You're just kind of forced to just be you and be with your thoughts. It can be really hard in the beginning, but over time it becomes meditative. And actually, the harder it is, what I found, the harder it is to be with your thoughts and to think through things and to like sit with your thoughts, with the chaos inside of your mind. The more necessary it is. Usually what I found is it's just more needed. You actually have been needing it more. If your mind is like firing in all directions, maybe it just needs you to be with it more. And people say all kinds of things like, well, no, my mind doesn't need to be heard. It doesn't need anyone to be with it. It's just ruminating. It's just going in a circle. These are just useless thoughts. They're endless thoughts. It's a endless cycle. No, I just need to take a pill and like shut it off or something, or I just need to distract myself. And I think a lot of people don't really understand the value of processing things inside of their mind. And they don't trust themselves either. They don't trust their thoughts, feelings. They don't trust feelings. I think a lot of people don't trust feelings because, you'll see the feelings of other people and you'll see how much it hurts you. You'll see how bad it is, and then you're like, I don't want to be that. This is not helpful or constructive in any way. And especially if you're in a place where most of the feelings that are being out there are bad kind of feelings. Like you're not really surrounded by the good kind of feelings. You're just surrounded by bad feelings, toxic feelings, chaotic feelings. There are a lot of paradigms in the world where people will never be introduced to good feelings. When they think of feelings, all they can think of is bad feelings, bad thoughts. Just the worst thoughts. The kind of thoughts that is a product of years and years and years of medicating and blocking out your thoughts. there are many paradigms where that's all people see, all that exists in people's world. So thinking and feeling is like actually a bad thing in those paradigms, because there's like nothing good that can come out of it. It's not like anyone is building a business. All the people in it are poor and working for other people 24/7. They're like wage workers, you know. It's not like anyone has to do any kind of art, has a time for any kind of art or strategy or, you know, strategizing. So for a lot of people, there is really no use to thinking. And they've been conditioned not to think. And maybe from childhood even, just conditioned to not have thoughts, to not place any value in their thoughts and processes, mental processes. I think that's really sad to me, because when you're in a paradigm where your thoughts and feelings are valuable and they actually take you somewhere, you know, art is one thing. Getting to the other side of an artistic process is so fulfilling. Like, your mind is just a little animal. Your mind getting to the other side of a mental process is actually really fulfilling in my world right now, where everybody is an entrepreneur, everyone's building a business, everybody's being creative. There's just so much to be gained by thinking and feeling. But it's also the kind of thing that you have to really, really know that you want, and you have to put a lot of energy and effort into putting yourself in that kind of place. And the thing is that most people, I don't think, want it enough that they would be willing to move mountains and like change their life around so dramatically that they would put themselves in that situation. Because it's also the kind of thing that you don't want it if you're stressed out. You know, you don't want to be with your thoughts more. If you're stressed out, you want to be with your thoughts less. You want a pill that's gonna like make all your thoughts go away, make you relax. And actually, I was thinking about it today. I was thinking about when I was always getting high back in the States, and also, you know, when we were in Mexico, I was getting high very often, but mostly when I was in the States, I was always getting high. And one thing I would think to myself is, I wish I could feel like this without drugs. I wish I could feel high even when I'm not high. I wish it could be like a permanent thing, that I don't have a crash later. I wish it wouldn't fade. I wish I wouldn't get dehydrated or have any like consequences. I wish it wouldn't like become less effective. I wish I could just always feel high. And I thought that was a crazy thing to wish for. I really genuinely felt like you can only enjoy being high and enjoy feeling that way if you're high. Like, I really just thought that kind of feeling was impossible unless you're high. But the thing is, like, I existed in a world where it really was only possible if you're high. Like, that feeling was a sustained feeling of being high. It was only possible if you're high on drugs. Because, like, even like the happiest people where we were not, like, that just wasn't a reality for them. They could just like act like a little high child, you know, that they could just be carefree and lighthearted and free-spirited. That just wasn't the thing within those paradigms. But it really takes, in order to get yourself to a world where you could be as carefree and lighthearted as you want and really feel high, like, it takes first admitting that that's a possibility, that you can have that. And once you admit that you can have that, it takes intentionally changing your life around to actually get that, like literally changing. There's this video I made about getting people to do exactly what you want them to do. And it's all about, you fit with the world in a certain way, so you're a puzzle piece that fits with the world in a certain way. And in order for you to fit with the world in a different way, you have to be different as a puzzle piece. So if you want your world to be different, you have to be different. But in order for you to be different, you can hack that by making your world different. You can be a totally different person. People think their personalities are like etched in stone. Like, yeah, I'm just a really type A person. I'm just a really chill person. I'm just a really this or that. Your personality is not etched in stone. If you think that your personality is even a thing, it's just how you have, it's just like a chain of reactions of how you've basically fit with the world your whole life, just a set of patterns that kind of fed into each other over a long period of time. But you can change things about your personality. You can change really deep things about your personality by changing the way that the universe fits with you. You can become a chill person. You can become a really confident person. You can become a loud person, quiet person. There's so much you can change by just changing the way that the world fits with you. You can move to a place. And the thing is, like, it will take changing a lot to change yourself as a puzzle piece. Like, it will take changing your environment, first of all. Changing, like, even if you change your environment, you're going to be around by speaking. I talk about this a lot, speaking the same language that you were speaking before. You're only going to be exposed to the paradigm of English-speaking people. And this is a big reason why I want to spend more time learning and speaking Eastern languages. I'm very privileged to speak Farsi, Hebrew. I want to learn Russian, Chinese, Turkish. I'm learning a little bit, languages that offer a different reality from the one that English speakers have. English speakers and Espanol, like, it's very similar propaganda, very similar media, very similar reality. And eventually all the languages of the world might, start having like similar realities, because brainwash can spread between different languages. And, whatever it is, the more languages you know and you speak, the more powerful you are, because you're going to have at least something a little bit different. And the thing is that a lot of languages won't actually be included in the brainwash. There's all kinds of brainwash, but they're going to have different types of brainwash. Like here, we're learning Indonesian, actually. Like, I keep forgetting about all the languages that I know or that I've learned in the past. Indonesian, we have language classes here. Indonesians have a very different paradigm than a lot of other people in the world. Like, the things that people here care about is very different. Oftentimes it's like, just something as simple as the roosters. Like, the fact that people, like, a sign of pride is how big your rooster is. Like, people get it, like, I know it's a joke, like, how big is your cock? But that's, like, really it's like a sign of pride and status for a family if they get a new rooster and they can show it off. And, like, if you have 2 roosters and they're really big and fresh and healthy looking, wow, even better. Like, that's a totally different reality than, let's say, people in the States or the UK. What's like a sign of status, a status symbol, maybe a Lamborghini, but not a rooster, So just even something as simple as that, changing your environment dramatically will change a lot of things for you. Changing your paradigm, changing a social media app that you use. I've been using Twitter for many years. Like, at this point, almost 10 years I've been on Twitter. it's just addicting because like it becomes your world, but then like you become entrenched in thought patterns that are like fueled by this single social media, and it's really hard to change overnight. Like, to get your mind on a different frequency, moving on a different frequency, it's really hard. But at least to just be aware of where the changes can be done with your brain, with your reality. Like, you can change your language, you can change your environment, you can change the types of, every group of people and every like type of social media platform, groups of people, like style, like everything and everyone has their own, they have their own frequency, like they have their own, there's a certain rhythm which they're going by and that you're consuming these things in your environment by, if I'm making sense. There's a certain rhythm of like the emotions of the people around you, their thoughts, their feelings, how they do things, their health. People's health is contagious. If you spend, it's not like some esoteric magic. You can probably break it down to a science. Like, if you spend long enough with a group of people that are very fat, overweight, diabetic, unhealthy, you'll become like that. It's not a coincidence that like families of people that are really fat, usually everybody in the family is fat together, unhealthy together. Usually everybody, or they have some kind of health problems if they're not fat. Usually like groups of friends, they start to look alike, they start to wear the same things. Like, it's, if 95% of your brain activity is happening subconsciously, then you're only consciously in control of like 5% of what's happening in your brain and what you're doing. The rest of it, your mind is doing on autopilot. It starts to mirror the feelings, thoughts, behaviors of the people around you. Even your body starts to absorb the processes and the electrical signals of people's bodies that are in your environment. So if you're in a place, in an environment, even if you're talking to people over the phone, you're gonna pick up on things. You're so powerful as a human. You have so many signals that are going through your body that are picking things up. You're so powerful. There's so much that you can sense, even just through a phone conversation with someone, even through a text message. You can sense so much tonality in your text messages, in tweets, in like of the people that are following you, the energy of the people that are following you. Like, there's so much communication that's happening beyond just words. There's so much, like, the difference between communicating with someone who's in their fight or flight versus communicating with someone who's stable and relaxed and in a place in life where they have savings, they have they're healthy, they're kind of, the difference is huge. And it's not always in what they're communicating, it's also like the tone, how they do it. Are they doing it in a rushed way? Are they like, let's talk today, let's have a meeting today? Or are they like, oh, okay, let's plan in advance. All right, I'm free next Monday. Let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just using this as a silly example, but there's so much that you can pick up from little things in your environment. And knowing this is cool because the more you understand the way that your mind and body works and how malleable you are, the easier it will be to control yourself, control your thoughts, the thoughts that you have, by simply controlling your environment, your behaviors, actions, thoughts, where you are heading in life. And it doesn't always have to be right away. It can be over the span of months or years, but just as long as you know this. Connecting with the thoughts inside of your head is a huge gift. It's a big way for you to process your feelings, to process the signals that are happening through your body. It's like a way that people become healthier is through meditation, through connecting with their thoughts, spending time with their thoughts, processing things. It's how you become in control of yourself. You become in control of all your behaviors. You become more confident over time. Confidence is really valuable. I mean, when you're confident, genuinely confident, not just faking it, there is nothing you can't do. You can walk into any room, make any business deal happen, negotiate a raise in your salary. Like, being with your thoughts is really valuable. And becoming comfortable with that, becoming comfortable with what's happening inside of your mind is really valuable. And, it can help you understand yourself. Why do you do certain things? Why do you fall in love with certain people? There's so many people that I know that are always ending up in the same patterns in their relationships, whether it's I always attract the same kind of guy or the same kind of girl. Why do I always attract the crazy ones? Why am I always with the crazy ones? Why am I always with the emotionally avoidant ones? Why am I always with the this or the that? There's just, people will get into patterns and they'll kind of repeat these patterns over and over and over again to the point that it makes them crazy. Why do you keep getting into certain patterns? Because there's things happening in your mind that you're just not aware of, you're not connecting to, and you for some reason think that what's inside of your mind is irrelevant or not something you want to be with. But all of the answers are there. They're inside of your brain. I'm telling this to myself, you're looking for someone else to come and give you the answer from inside of your brain. Oh, can you tell me, or even a psychoanalyst or whatever. I've talked to so many people. And the thing is, people can try to help you and guide you to be with yourself, but ultimately the answers are in yourself, in your brain. Your mind just needs you to sit with it long enough, be with it long enough to do that. And the thing is, most people do actually have the time to do that. You do have the time to be with your mind. If you're driving to work, instead of listening to that song, you could be listening to your thoughts. You could be having a conversation with yourself. Instead of talking on the phone with people, who's more important, other people or your brain? You could be having a conversation with yourself and asking yourself these questions, meditating, processing these. Meditating doesn't have to be in a room with a rug, in a quiet room. You can be driving here, how we're doing right here, driving. And don't turn on a podcast, don't turn on any music, just be with your thoughts. Have a conversation with yourself. Let your mind wander where it feels like wandering. If it feels like wandering in the bottomless pits of hell, let it do that. And if you have questions about yourself, let your mind answer these questions for you. And even say it out loud. Hey, brain, why do I keep getting in relationship with crazy people, let's say? This is actually a very common pattern. People say, why do I always end up choosing the crazy ones? Or why do I always attract the crazy ones? Well, maybe your mind secretly likes the crazy ones. The crazy ones meaning someone who expresses their emotions. Because you vicariously feel your feelings through other people, because something inside of you doesn't feel safe to feel the feelings or express the feelings yourself, maybe because of a past trauma. So you attract people that will feel it for you. That's a coping mechanism that your brain, which is a genius, has managed to find for you. So maybe if you listened to your brain enough, maybe that's what you would find. Maybe it would take a really long time to get to the bottom of what your brain actually thinks, because you are spending hours and hours sifting through, is this my thought or is this the thoughts of the people around me? My friend has described me in the past many times as a sponge, because like if I'm around too many people, I spend too much time around people, I basically pick up like their thoughts and feelings. Usually their feelings, it's an emotional thing for me. And then it becomes like me. It's like I can't even tell the difference between what I'm actually thinking from myself or what my environment caused me to think. And the reality is, as we're basically like living beings, it's not true that anything is really ours. Like everything that we think and feel is in some way going to be influenced by our environment and by what's happening in our body, what's happening in our brain, like physically what's happening, you know? So nothing is truly like your soul speaking, like unfiltered, you know? It's always going to be a mixture of certain physical and environmental factors, and like memories and, you know, electrical signals and all these things. But a lot of times you realize, like a lot of times you can tell that you can take away a lot of like the extra noise by just moving yourself from one environment to another, or like deprogramming yourself from the people that you talked to that day. So that's me. Like, you know, it's very easy for me to change my mind or forget what I was thinking and feeling before I was hanging out with a group of people, let's say, because like once I'm in that group, I, like a sponge, just absorb everything everybody was feeling and thinking in that group. Or even if it's like one-on-one, I become just transplanted into that person's mind. And then I have to take a while to like deconstruct or what do you call it? Like deprogram myself from that person's being, because I've just absorbed who they are in such a deep way. I'm listening to this astrology playlist, which is really interesting. While on this drive, I'm listening to like because I just never understood how astrology works. Like, how do they decide, like how do planets and moon and sun and all these things, how does that affect like the inner workings of my brain? Like, how does that even work? You know, I never really understood it. I just sort of took everything, you know, horoscopes and all these things at face value, and I never really thought about it, like, you know, because people are always talking about it, especially here in Bali. People are really into astrology. They talk about like, oh, like there's this event, this planetary event happening today or tomorrow. Oh, have you noticed that there is a certain energy going around? Oh, it's because this planet is in retrograde or whatever. You know, people talk about astrology a lot in the expat community. And so I decided to get to know it, understand it, like what's behind it. Like, why is it believed that a planet can affect someone's mood, you know? So what I've learned through this playlist that I'm listening to here on my drive is that the planets aren't, I think maybe some people, and I actually still have so much to learn. Like, I really did not. I didn't even get through the playlist. There's like 52 videos in that playlist, and I only got through like 10 of them. But sounds like there might be like a gravitational magnetic thing happening, but like most of modern astrology is based on data of patterns and predictions. So it's mostly going to be based on patterns and predictions. So at a time in the past when the planets were positioned in such a way, this thing happened, and these feelings and stuff happened in the person that was born when the planets were in this specific position and all that. Like, it's basically just probability and patterns. So the probability of you being the kind of person that has an accident on this day increases when the planets are in this symmetry or whatever. Geometry. That's the word, geometry. So yeah, no, we're just taking a break and checking out the beautiful view. This place is gorgeous, and actually there's so much of the drive that I did not end up getting. It's just, there's just so much. What am I looking at my phone? Oh, I'm recording. Yeah, there's just so much of this drive that I didn't even get because my GoPro only records an hour at a time. It's really nice. It's very pleasant to drive through, and it's very meditative. So yeah, there's that place. We're gonna get back on our drive, and I'm turning the videos back on. So yeah, the more time you spend with your thoughts, the more you become in control of yourself, which is really powerful. It's really powerful to know exactly why you feel this and that way, like what's happening, why you're getting into certain relationships, why you're attracted to certain people, why you're reacting a certain way, why you feel a certain way. It's really powerful to know, like, and then the more you get to know yourself, the more you get to know, like, people around you. You start to, like, notice certain behaviors in the people around you, certain vibes. Like, you can start to predict how they're gonna react to you, what they're gonna expect, what their deal is. That's a really powerful thing as well. It's really nice to be able to pull back the curtain on yourself, the people around you, relationships, especially in a time like right now when it just feels like everybody's going crazy. Like, it just feels like everyone's crazy. It feels like you're going crazy. It doesn't really feel like anyone's in control of themselves. We're just a bunch of crazy animals. Like, I wish we were animals, because animals are not unnaturally acting out and being medicated. Like, the way things are right now is so scary because everybody's overly medicated. So, like, people aren't acting normal. Like, they're not acting in a way that's predictable with, like, a natural human rhythm. People's hormones are out of balance. The chemicals in their brain are out of balance. Like, their lifestyles are out of balance. Like, people are not, there isn't, like, a natural rhythm to people, you know? Even, like, people's identities are shifting day to day. Their genders are changing day to day. Like, it's not normal. It's not anything that you can build anything long term on with anybody. You know, it just feels like that. It feels like, I mean, in most, like, developed countries, I mean, it's not really like that here in Bali. Expats are a different ballgame. They tend to be much more health conscious. I mean, like the kind of people that leave the US, UK, like any first world country, the kind of people that leave those countries to live in a so-called third world country, like I say so-called because it's so ridiculous how people in first world countries view poverty. Like they think like, I mean, I'm just really polite when people are like, oh yeah, like this is like a poor country and people are living in poverty, and there's like the way people even see poverty is so silly to me. Like to me poverty is what's happening in first world countries, where people's like their biological makeup has been tampered with and is all wonky and like disfigured. That's poverty to me. But like if you don't have Wi-Fi, that's not exactly poverty to me. Like you don't have electricity, that's not poverty. Like okay, that's not having access to certain first world amenities, which are really, make things really comfortable. But that's not exactly poverty, especially in a place in the world that's warm and you're not going to freeze to death. And I'm just giving like an extreme example, but I don't even know where I was going. But regardless, most expats are going to be a lot healthier. But still, even in the expat community, you have like a lot of like lost souls, people coming from developed or like so-called first world countries that are like trying to find themselves. Like when we first moved here, I felt like I was so up and down, because we were so sick, and like that affected my brain a lot. We were sick. We had extreme diarrhea in Mexico, and we came here to heal. We came to Ubud, Bali, and we were just spending a lot of time sleeping, drinking coconuts, and we still drink coconuts every day. But like in the beginning when we got here, we didn't care. Like we got an Airbnb. It was not comfortable for us. It was not like, but we didn't care. We just like our whole priority was just get a place. Don't care what it looks like. Sleep in it for like months, just until you get better. Because we had been really sick and it had really affected our bodies. Like Andrew had vertigo nonstop. It was really, really dysfunctional. I kept having ear infections. Because I don't know if you know this, but your gut is very strongly connected with your ears and your vestibular system, the nerves that are connected to your ears. So, because we also had a lot of antibiotics when we were in Mexico to try to fight with the bacteria that was causing our diarrhea. Like stuff had been messed up so much. So we were trying to find a sense of balance. Our ears were affected. We were getting ear infections a lot. I even went to the doctor a couple times, but we were basically just sleeping all day, every day. And we barely went out. We barely were talking to anybody. We weren't socializing or talking to anybody. We were just very much in like a recovery mode. That was like our whole purpose of coming here, was to just spend as little as possible. We got a guest room for $300 a month, which wasn't even the cheapest one. Like there's really cheap guest houses here. So we got a guest house. Guest room or guest house, I don't remember what it's called, what hours would have been. But anyway, we got $300 a month. And like, by the way, for $300 a month, you have someone cleaning your room every day or every other day. You have, toiletries provided. Like, they take care of you. It's actually a really nice lifestyle for $300 a month. You have a family taking care of you, You can pay $1 in the morning and they make you breakfast. $1, so that's like 15,000 rupees, less than $1, but that was our priority, was our health. So we just wanted to be in a place where we can spend bottom dollar and just spend the whole time sleeping on a budget. Imagine trying to do that in the States. Imagine just being in such bad shape and saying, you know what, I need to spend the next 6 months sleeping. How are you going to afford that? I don't know anybody that could do that or would be willing to do that, because that would be very expensive. You know what? I'm just going to spend the next 6 months sleeping, drinking coconuts, and having a family take care of me and clean my house for me, clean my room. Yeah. I don't know anybody in the States, even like the really, really rich people. Like, nah, people are not doing that. We did that because we came here. We bought ourselves a lot of time. And anyway, we would occasionally go outside and sort of socialize, I guess. Like kind of walk around and like kind of meet people. And the thing is, like, because of the state of our minds, we were still recovering from fight or flight, because our nerves were just, our like nervous systems were just so rattled, from being so deeply sick and stressed out from the previous years, the crazy things of the previous years. So even when we were like in a place that we were safe, finally, the kind of people that our nervous systems were attracting to were people that were also like kind of in their fight or flight, or like in a transitioning period. But even the people that, like, the thing is, like, even if those people are not necessarily in their fight or flight or transitioning period, like, it will connect to that part of them. That's where our minds were at. So it's kind of like when you're really depressed and you go outside and you think everybody's depressed. So the kind of people that you'll connect to are the people that are depressed also. But then you might also connect to like people that are generally happy, but because you're depressed and you see everybody as depressed, you're going to connect to like the depressed part of that person. So like that person's going to like just talk about their sad stuff when they're around you, because like that's the kind of emotion in them that you connected to. I don't know if I'm making sense. But anyways, the frequency, that's like people here call it like the frequency that you're like vibing at or whatever, the frequency you're operating at. So the frequency that we were operating at, like the brain frequency that we were operating at when we got here, was recovering from fight or flight, transitioning, highly sensitive. I'm still highly sensitive, like, because we weren't having like I think it's that part of it, like being highly sensitive to sounds and to stimulation. It's still hard because there's so many sounds and stimulations happening on this little island. Like, there's so many animals at night. You have the sound of geckos, you have the sound of like loud geckos, you have the sound of frogs, you have dogs, you have cats, roosters, birds, crickets, like I don't know what else. For me, the Achilles heel has been roosters. The first place we were living in, there were roosters right outside of the window, and the window didn't close. So it's like the window is wide open. Your bed is right by the window, which is wide open. And there is a rooster right outside of the window. There were 2 roosters in that place, right outside of the window. And they're just cuckooing in your ear, and it is really loud. And it's like at 4 or 5 in the morning, you're being woken up by these roosters. So that was really hard. That was really hard to get used to, which we still haven't fully gotten used to it. But as we've gotten better, healed physically, I feel like I'm less sensitive to the sound of the roosters, because the sensitivity is just worse when you're more sick and your nerves are healing. But even now, we still, even in our new place, roosters, it's really hard to get away from the roosters in Ubud. They're just everywhere. People see them as a sign of pride, status symbol. It's really hard to find a place to live in where people don't have these big, huge roosters that they keep right outside of the windows. And they're used to the sound. So as an expat, you're, anyways. So yeah, I don't even know how I got on that ramble, but it's just a nice sunny day. You guys driving with me through the woods, so we were in Ahmed, which is northeast. So we did a 2-day scuba trip. We got there on Saturday. So Saturday morning, we drove up from Ubud to Ahmed. So that's a 2-hour drive, 2.5 hours maybe, through the mountains. So getting to Ahmed was really nice through the mountains. And then, we slept. So yeah, it was two nights. We got there on Saturday, just chilled Saturday afternoon, walked around, and then on Sunday we went scuba diving. 2 dives. One was a shipwreck dive, and the other one was just a really nice, cool dive where we got to see really cool fish and reefs. And then Monday morning we driving back through, instead of going back through just cutting across through the mountains, we took a longer scenic route. So this is a longer scenic route that's closer to the beach. That's why you've been seeing the beach a lot. And so that's those are little vacations. Usually we go to Canggu. Canggu is southwest, and it's more touristy. There's a lot of expats from Australia, and people are in Canggu. People are really into bodybuilding, and everybody's walking around in a bathing suit. Everyone's shirtless. Literally, you got women just walking around in just their bikini in Canggu, which is so funny. Just walking around outside. People are walking barefoot. It's very much a beach vibe, beach town. And there's meat, there's barbecue everywhere, which I love. I love barbecue, meat. Ubud has more of Ubud, which is more in the center of Bali, or it's more towards the south technically, but it's more towards the center, but it's still close to Denpasar, the south of Bali. But Ubud is more of a nature vibe. People that choose to live in Ubud is also a little bit less transient than Canggu, I think. The people who live in Ubud are a little more kind of long-term. A lot of families live in Ubud. A lot of families. A lot of people, there's a lot of schools for kids, all kinds of schools. There's, Ubud also, has a lot of vegans and vegetarians. Everyone in Bali, there's a lot of vegans and vegetarians everywhere, but especially Ubud, because a lot of people go to Ubud for health reasons. They choose to live there because like meditating and health is like a big thing in Ubud. So relaxing your nervous system. And so you have a lot of vegans and vegetarians, a lot of vegan and vegetarian, like really good vegan vegetarian food, which is saying a lot for me because I love meat. So if I'm saying that, like, it's good. Really good vegan and vegetarian food. So yeah, Ahmed was like much quieter than both Ubud and Canggu. Less traffic, obviously, because it's less of like a well-known part of Bali, it's like all the way up north. And the air is also cooler up north because there's just more mountains, so the air is cooler. But there are still expats. There's people, you could tell there's people that live there all year round and they just go diving all the time. And you can take a little boat to like the smaller islands. There's Lombok, Lamongan, whatever, Nusa Penida, Gili Island. There's like a bunch of little islands that people take a boat or something. We still haven't visited the little islands, but eventually here we will. So yeah, there's a whole little geography story about Bali, and there's a lot to do that allows you to spend time reflecting. That's like basically all I do all day is reflecting my thoughts. And I like looking back, I could have done it in Dallas, I could have done it in any place that I was in, really. I could have done it in DC, I could have done it in LA, New York City, but there's something in the environment that made me feel like I just didn't want to. There's something in the environment that made my thoughts and opinions just all feel so intense and so toxic. I just felt angry all the time, and it could have just been, looking back, it might have just been that I was always in a crazy amount of debt. I was always stressed out for financial reasons, and here I'm not, so that could just be the little fix, which is not so little. I mean, if you want to hear about my story of how I financially did it, I would recommend my book, House Hackers Anonymous. So that's basically my entire, like all of my secrets, like my entire plan, A to Z, in 12 steps, how I got myself financially free, and all of my tips and tricks, everything that I did, but also everything I didn't do, like everything I know, everything that I could think of, I would give as a gift to a younger version of myself, or like someone that just wants the shortcuts, basically. It's like all the shortcuts. So yeah, like it's not little, it's a lot of little things, but like once you fix that part, like once you can free up your time, become free of the constraints of like debt and worrying about your basic survival and like your rent, like people are just living month to month perpetually. They're just living their whole life month to month, and then they just drink all day so they don't have to think about it. Like so many people's drinking problems and avoiding their thoughts and their thoughts and feelings is literally just because of that. It might not even be anything else. It might not even be like some big trauma from your childhood or some terrible thing. I mean, your childhood, like all the traumas just become bigger when you're in a state of fight or flight. But I feel like for a lot of people, maybe just getting yourself financially to a place where you're not worried about car insurance and health insurance and like, I don't know, mortgage insurance and like you're just all these extra expensive costs. There's just so many things that people think that they need that we really do not need, and in fact is just is just weighing us down, like just adding chaos and stress and anxiety to our life. Like you're like, just think of like all the things that you think you need. Like, I'm not telling you to need less or to like deny yourself things that you want, but like a lot of the stuff we've been just brainwashed into thinking that we need it. We've been brainwashed by just marketing and like companies that just want to make money, you know? And it's like they have to do it because that's how they make their money, but like it's on you as a person who's an adult, a free person, to understand that and either play the game or leave it, go somewhere else, you know? Don't, if the game is squashing you, don't engage. Like, if you're in your fight or flight because your like expenses are carrying you month to month, they're not worth it. Like, I don't care how amazing the car is that you drive or the school is that your kids are private school. I don't know, like there's so much value in being in control of your thoughts, your mind, your feelings. That's like all you've got. That's your machine right there, your mind. And if you don't have that, if you don't have your mind, then what do you have? Really? Oh my God, my nose. You guys can like see all the stuff that I'm watching in my YouTube video, in my YouTube account. It's so funny. So, yeah, I'm sure wherever you are, there's like, maybe you can go on a really long drive and think. Prioritize thinking. Prioritize like being with yourself for as long as you can. Maybe if you are at work, I worked as a waitress, and I found that like, because a lot of it is just like very self-explanatory stuff, do this, go to the tables, do side work, you know, like prepare the silverware, napkins, whatever, like a lot of stuff you don't really need to use your brain so much. So like, while you're doing those things, while you're doing your work, whatever it is, take it as an opportunity to spend time with yourself and your thoughts. Let's say you're, an accountant and you're doing like number stuff. Like, there's so many jobs that people have where you can use your mind, where it's like kind of mindless work for you because you've been doing it for so long. So you're at a point where you can just like think about other things while you're doing that. So take the opportunity to think. Don't listen to music. Don't clog your mind with like the feelings of other people, thoughts of other people. Don't try to distract yourself. And this is much easier said than done. Really, like, I struggle with this a lot, because your mind wants to latch on to like what it's comfortable doing, which is like in its pattern of doing things. So like, I'm always this is actually a thing that I do, is that I latch on to people's fight or flight feelings. Like, I want to get out of my fight or flight, really. And I have been getting out of it, but the thing is, like, oftentimes I will latch on to the feelings of people that are in their fight or flight, and I'll try to like fish it out. Like, I'll try to like get them to talk about it or something, because my brain is trying to fix something. It's trying to like it's trying to find people that are like matching that energy that it's like that it has been operating in for so long. I'm not even making sense, but that's something that I struggle with, is like allowing your mind to just like leave other people alone, be with yourself, be with your own thoughts, and just become comfortable with just thinking the things that you're thinking and trying to not add too many other people's thoughts to the mix. Try to just process what you got. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. I promise. It gets easier, more efficient, and it gets more enjoyable. It becomes a lot of fun, actually, to be with your feelings, your thoughts, and like also to just be more present. Like at a certain point, you don't have too many pressing things in your mind happening, and you can just be where you are and not think. Like, do you ever like talk to those people that are like, you're like, oh, like, what are you thinking about? And they're like, nothing. And you're just like, you're thinking about nothing? Like, I wish I could think about nothing. And they're just like, well, I don't have anything to think about. And their mind is basically able to just relax and just be in the moment, be in the present. They're thinking about, oh, I'm thinking about what is happening here in this place. Oh, there's a cool trees, so pretty, you know, like there's this motor ride. It really feels kind of like a video game. It's so beautiful, and we're following Andrew, and it's like, you know, it feels like we're playing a game. So it's actually really, and especially in an environment like this, like how could you not want to be outside of your mind sometimes? But just that you know that you're doing it because you want to, and not because you're trying to distract yourself from the inside of your mind. Not that you're trying to like squash your inner voice or try to distract or try to get away from it or avoid it and run away from it, but that you have done all the self-loving and self-talking and self-listening that you could, and your inner self is so satisfied that like you're just ready to just be with your environment and just enjoy it and just be in it and sense it. All the smells, all the little smoky smells, like there's always someone has a fire burning somewhere. Another really cool thing on this drive, monkeys. Especially when you drive through the mountains, there's just like highways that are filled with monkeys everywhere, and you're like scared to stop because what if one monkey jumps on you and they're there with like all their family and their herd and everything. Like if you get in a tiff with one monkey, you get in a tiff with all of them, and you do not want to get in a tiff with like 100 monkeys. Like that would be so scary. That would be like death for some people. Yeah. So just really cool things that you see on the drive. A lot of marches on this drive, like there's, because of the Indonesian Independence Day was this week, so a lot of marches, a lot of kids marching, and like they had like parades and stuff in the street. And there's what else? There's a lot of towns that are like more Muslim, because it's interesting because like Ubud is very Hindu, like all the families in Ubud are mostly Hindu. But then when you go outside of Ubud, like when you go to Denpasar, when you go up in the north in the mountains, a lot of the villages and towns there are more Muslim. Like you see the women wearing their hijab. There's also Muslims inside of Ubud, but it's not as big as Hindu is. So it's just interesting to like be in the different areas and observe the different like ecosystems, like the different kinds of people that live in the different parts, and the different like in the climates being a little cooler up in the north. People are wearing more clothing. Like, as opposed to if you go to Canggu, even the locals are like barely wearing any clothing. It's just like everybody looks like they're high, everybody looks like they're a beach bum, like they're like a barbecue. Everybody looks like a barbecue because they're just like barely wearing any clothing and they're so sunburned and so relaxed. It's really funny, the different like characters that you see out here. Cool. So I'm gonna end this video here and just tell you guys thank you for watching this, for listening to my ramble. I hope it's like at least relaxing for some people. I know it's like it's just me talking and driving. Just talking and driving on a Monday. But for some of you, I know this is just all you needed, you know. Maybe like it's like a transition for you. Like, I actually do this a lot too, where I don't feel like just listening to my own thoughts all day. So it's like the thing that connects, the thing that like my training wheels to be with my own thoughts is first I like to listen to another YouTuber. That's kind of stream of consciousness, just rambling and like having a vlog or something and they're talking about their thoughts. So first I do that and then I spend a while just with my own thoughts. So maybe that's what this is going to be for you. Maybe you're going to like listen to this. You're listening to this while you're working or you're doing whatever you're doing, driving or like going on a walk or something, or you're just like in the shower or in bed or whatever. And then you're going to spend, and then once you're finished, and then, yeah, once you've watched a few of these kind of videos, then you're just going to like sit with your thoughts and just cook for like another hour or something. Pop a gummy in and just like think your thoughts. And hopefully you're doing something nice and comfy while you're doing it, so that your mind thinks that it's like you trick your mind into thinking really nice thoughts. So cool. That's all I got for today. Love you guys. See you in the next video. And also like tell me in the comments if there's like things you like better than like the text. Bye. Babe, say hello. Okay. Nice stretch.